Hi, Mike here. This video is looking at verbs and verb phrases in section B of the exam. Again, I'm focusing on the passage A Short History of Cardiff, which is a section B question. In the last video, we looked at how sentences are constructed and how nouns and noun phrases are used as the basis of sentences. And so this video is looking at verbs and how they help to express the writer's meaning and attitudes. Now I've chosen to begin with the sentence, I look for the real city. This comes in a section of the text when the writer is describing his everyday feelings and impressions about Cardiff as somebody who lives there. As with many feature articles, this article is written using what you might call an anecdotal structure. That is, it's not chronological. He's following a series of stories, thoughts and impressions about the city of Cardiff. So it begins the paragraph with, I look for the real city, expressing his views and feelings about the place. In the last video, we looked at the structure of a basic sentence, a characteristic sentence in English. And once again, this sentence is quite similar. It's what we call a simple sentence. It only contains one main verb, one grammatical unit, one clause. And the sentence is, I look for the real city. Now, what the sentence is about is the writer himself, but instead of using his name, he uses what we call a pronoun. Instead of a noun or a noun phrase, he uses the pronoun I. This sentence does not complete with a noun phrase because it's not necessary. In English, we can simply say, I look. We don't have to say what we're looking for. However, a prepositional phrase for the real city is used to finish off the sentence. But the basic structure of the sentence is there. The main event of the sentence is in the middle where you would expect, and it's the verb look. And look is a verb that's in the present tense. As with many feature articles, the writer chooses to write parts of this article in the present tense, as he engages us with his thoughts, feelings and impressions about the city of Cardiff. Okay, so that's the main verb look. And when we use a verb as the main verb in a sentence, that's how we describe it. We call it the main verb, the verb that the grammatical unit or the clause is focused on. I'm going to move to a different part of the passage now to look at how verbs are used in the past. And this paragraph, the second paragraph, describes Cardiff's history, showing the writer's attitudes that Cardiff is a place that's been affected by significant change. Here's a sentence, when you arrived you could see the strain of money being made. And if you represent that sentence, you'll see that the structure of that sentence is a little different. Here's the main unit of the sentence, the main clause. You could see the strain of money being made. And that's a clause which could stand as a sentence by itself, so we call it a main clause. However, this sentence doesn't just contain a main clause. It contains more than one grammatical unit. It's what we call a complex sentence because it includes a subordinate clause, when you arrived. It's a subordinate adverbial clause because it describes the time of arrival. It's also fronted. That means it's used to begin the sentence. So if we leave that to one side, this sentence is describing visitors to Cardiff. Again, instead of using a noun or a noun phrase, the sentence uses a pronoun, you, to begin. And just with other sentences, we would look in the middle of the sentence for the event, the idea that we call a verb. So what would the visitor do? What would the event be? Well, the visitor would see. Actually, the idea of this clause is in the past. So the writer would normally be saying, you saw the strain of money being made. That's if it happened every time you arrived. In this case, however, another word is linked to the main verb in the sentence. The word could. Could is also a verb, and it's a verb that expresses a judgment, an opinion about the main verb in the sentence. We call that a modal verb. Modal verbs are words in English like can, might, should, shall, and in this case could. So they're words that express judgments that go with the main verb. You can see that if the writer had said might have seen, that would be a different idea to could see. It's expressing the idea that sometimes when visitors came to the city, they could see just how much the industrial nature of the place had influenced its development. And this is again contributing to the writer's idea of how much Cardiff has changed and engaging and intriguing the reader, in Cardiff's history. Could see is what we call a verb phrase. It's more than one verb which expresses the idea of the event in the sentence. And we've got the main verb see, then we've got the modal verb could. Just one more point today about verbs and verb types, which is what happens when verbs are not there. As with many feature articles, this article begins with a summary, expressing the characteristics of the place and some concrete details that the reader will remember. So I've chosen the second sentence of the passage just to comment on a little bit more. Cardiff, call centre capital, shopping capital, media hub. So where would we look in this sentence? Well, the sentence begins with Cardiff, which is a noun, describing the city, a proper noun going back to the previous video, and then some characteristics of that place, again using noun phrases. It's a call centre capital. It's a shopping capital. It's a media hub. Now where we'd look for the main event in the sentence is here, pretty much where the hyphen is. But in this sentence, there is no verb. It's what we call a minor sentence. It's incomplete. If you were to add in a verb to complete the meaning of the sentence, it would be a verb like Cardiff is the call centre capital, or Cardiff contains call centres. But here the writer doesn't use a main verb at all. That's a feature of style, which is engaging us straight away in the different characteristics of the place. And the writer is a poet, so he's used the opportunity here to include an incomplete sentence, what we call a minor sentence. It doesn't include a verb at all. Thank you.